Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of the podcast. My name is Raphael. I will be your host for today's episode. I am a certified life coach and meditation guide, and you probably found me here because of the meditations we do. But I also like to take a few episodes here and there to talk about philosophy, to talk about mindfulness, to talk a little bit about life. And this is what we're going to be doing today, talking about life, lifestyle design, and how to live by design and not by default. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We didn't even start yet. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And again, if you have any questions, feedback, or you want to engage in debate, I love talking with you guys. I love the messages that you sent me last week about our last episode about courage. And I love to respond to you also. Do check out in the show notes ways to communicate with me, and let's make this a conversation and not just a monologue. So on to today's subject, how to live by design and not by default. We all have our defaults, and it does not really matter if they were created by us in the past, not in our past lives, but in our past, or by the surrounding influences that guide us to whatever direction. It is time that we take control of our lives, starting with our decisions and our management of time and energy, so that we do not let ourselves be the victims of whatever life imposes on us, stimulus, events. And yes, to certain things we must surrender, mainly events and outcomes of events that are outside of our actionable control. But that surrender must be also by design, not by default. We need to create this response ability by stepping between stimulus and response and acting with virtue. And so living by design does not necessarily mean that you cannot put anything on autopilot. On the contrary, we design our autopilots. Otherwise, it would be, exhausting, not effective, and we would have too many things to do. We will put things on autopilot, and those are called habits. But we need to design these habits, these autopilots, as well as design our awareness to our mental and physical action. I want to talk about something that is very obvious, but let's talk about it anyway, which is if you don't design your own life, somebody else will. And to be clear, if you do not work actively on designing the course of our life, somebody else will. And then someone might be your boss, a colleague, a family member. It can be someone that has your best interest at heart or not your best interest at heart. And that's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. And more than that, to go a little bit further, that person controlling your life might even be you. You when you fail to act as the best version of yourself. You when you make suboptimal decisions, making cowardly and unwise decisions. You not acting towards eudaimonia, not trying to close the gap between who you are today and who you might be at your full potential. And that is something that we often omit. It's like, I don't want my boss to take control of my time. Yes, but I don't want myself, my suboptimal self, to take control of my time either. I want the best version of myself, my eudaimonic self, to take decisions and to design my life. The second thing that I want to talk about is, in order to design the best lives possible, an exercise that Stoics do is to reflect on your own mortality. And the reason why I'm interested in this way, in the Stoic philosopher way of pondering daily on mortality, is partly because when we do so, we deeply internalize the fact that today might be our last day, and this action, this task, might be the last thing we do. We completely change our mindsets towards what is really important, what is really essential. And so by reflecting on your mortality, you start feeling the agency needed to start designing your life or redesigning, improving, self-actualizing your life. You start having the urge to say no to certain defaults. You start getting, as we talked about before, the courage to eliminate non-essentials. And you start to say no to certain defaults that you would not accept if you knew you only had 24 hours or left, 24 hours or less left to live. And that's a really, really good thing. So reflect on your mortality, even if it's one sentence in your morning journal. Next thing that we need to realize on that path is that every breath you take is a near-death experience. And this, I don't want to be, like dark and dramatic or melodramatic, but it's true. Every breath you take is a near-death experience. We often see in movies or in novels a hero that lives past a near-death experience and starts living his or her life on their own terms, doing what is most important, eliminating non-essentials, spending time with their families and their friends, leaving the soul-sucking job with the micromanaging boss, going into nature to breathe in deep the smell of flowers, hug trees, and so on. And remember that every breath that you take is indeed a near-death experience, because that breath might be your last. We always say this day might be your last, this task might be your last, this breath might be your last too. Right now, when I'm recording this podcast, I might breathe in and die. And again, I'm not trying to sound dark and dramatic. It's beautiful because life is precious, because it is finite. Life would not be so precious if it was infinite. So if you're young and healthy, of course, the chances are very slim, but they're there anyway. You might choke, your heart might skip an extra beat because you're really not approving of this podcast episode. You might fall and break your neck, whatever happens, It doesn't matter how slim the chance, the risk of dying is still there. So use this to your advantage. Take in the momentum of this fact. Of course it's freaky, and it's a little bit scary, but that's okay. It's reality. Remember the quote, if you fight against reality, you'll lose, but only 100% of the time. Use it here. Face that fear because there's no other choice. Don't fight reality. The risk of dying is always there. So use this at your advantage, and that you can quote me on it. And I would like to do an exercise now, which is also a little bit dark and dramatic, but don't take it as such. Please don't. Take it as something positive, as something beautiful. And I want you to take a nap on your deathbed. You don't have to wait until the very last moment to take a nap on your deathbed, to lie down there, fluff that pillow, and choose your favorite sheets. Because, that's your last stop, so you might have something soft under you. But, do it. Take a nap on your deathbed. Inside your mind, close your eyes and imagine yourself on that deathbed. Lie down there right now, just for a few minutes. Close your eyes and imagine what it would feel like. Chances are, if you've lived your life by your own design, there will be much fewer, sorry, my English is terrible today. There'll be much fewer regrets than if you have followed every single default imposed upon you. And this is when you talk to people on their actual deathbed, the first thing they tell you is, oh, I wish I would not have done X, Y, Z. These regrets are due to a lack of precision in the design of your own lifestyle and the design of your own destiny. And I do know that it's easier said than done, but we're not here to ask easy questions and to do easy things. We're here to work on ourselves, and if it would be easy, it wouldn't be so interesting anyway. But I do acknowledge the fact that very few people would take the time to do this kind of exercise because, death is dark and all these things. But, if you've listened to me so far and if you've subscribed to this podcast, chances are that you're okay with it and that you know that what I'm saying makes sense. And if it doesn't, then please do message me on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever. But, most people will not do it. And that reminds me of the quote that I say every couple of episodes from Krishnamurti, which is, it is no measure of health to be well adapted to a profoundly sick society. It's not because other people don't do this, don't reflect on their mortality, that you should not do it. Go a step further, be better. Be a radiant exemplar to the people around you. Lead by example the people that you love. Use these words wisely every day as you design your life. That Krishnamurti quote, that it is no measure of health to be well adapted to a profoundly sick society. Take the decisions that are in sync with your values and virtues, and not to what is common in our society. This goes for nutrition. It's not because everybody goes to McDonald's that it's healthy. Or that everybody eats sugar, that it's healthy, or that, everybody drinks Coca-Cola, that it's healthy. No, it is not healthy. It might appear healthy because we're in a sick society that, with a mortal rate due to nutrition that is absolutely mind-boggling in 2021. And this goes for other things, such as designing a lifestyle that might not be the norm to today's rat race, always on, always fast, always more, as well as committing to respond to stimulus with virtue, no matter the circumstances, but most importantly, no matter the repercussions, the consequences of responding with virtue. So, tell the truth, be honest, even if it's to your boss, and even if that means that you might get fired. If you don't tell the truth, if you are not honest, you will know it. Yourself, with a capital S, will know it. This will create conflict within yourself. This will create suffering. This will create lack of confidence. Remember, confidence, confidere, with intense trust. How can you trust yourself? How can you trust anybody if you don't tell the truth? So tell the truth, no matter the consequence. Don't adapt to a sick society that is okay with dishonesty. And that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, or if you haven't enjoyed this episode, I hope it was some food for thought and that you've taken at least something out of it. Please do the exercise. Please take that nap on your deathbed, and please do it with a smile on your face, because this is a joyful moment. It is a joyful moment to practice these things, because, nothing should never be unexpected by us, said Seneca. Okay, so all my contact information is in the show notes for this podcast, so make sure that you listen, that you reach out, and that you engage in dialogue. I really enjoy having your messages. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you don't, and I enjoy both equally. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.